Yo, what's up, Broncos country? How's it going today, guys? Sorry, me and Muhammad weren't on last week for the draft. I was out of town for personal issues, so we weren't able to do a pod last week. But we are back today to talk about the draft. You know, all the Broncos picks, our division rivals' first round picks, and we'll talk about the Drake Greenlaw thing. And that's pretty much all we're going to get into today. So let's get into it. So, Muhammad, we'll go over each pick individually, but gut reaction. What was your gut reaction to the 2025 NFL draft this year for the Broncos?
So Eddie, it felt better after the draft was over, like after day three when I looked at all the draft picks we got. But that first one really kind of blew my mind. I did not see that coming. Honestly, I thought even if the Broncos didn't like the running backs that were left on the board after Genty was taken, Omari Hampton was there. I thought they really either maybe trade back or maybe pick something else, like somebody else. Maybe they want to try Trayvon Henderson. That's somebody I really liked. I thought maybe they'll trade back, but then they went and drafted a corner. I just did not see that coming. That kind of pissed me off a little bit. But then as the draft went on, I'm like, okay, now we have the best defense in our division, possibly the best defense in the NFL. So I'll take it. And I know before we went live, we were talking about what that would be. But overall, Eddie, we kind of filled most of the needs that we needed, as far as the draft. Like, I mean, wide receiver, running back, we added a couple of pieces to the defense. We got a tight end that I'm really excited about, in the last, in the seventh round. But overall, I'll give our draft maybe a B, B plus, something like that. What do you think?
Yeah, my overall reaction was, I, I was positive the Broncos were going to go running back round one. I was 100% certain on that, and the Broncos made me look like an idiot. So, but I mean, you can't argue with what they did with the first round pick. Taking a top 10 prospect at pick 20 and Barron. Um, Harvey. I think I've been hearing a lot of people compare him to Alvin Kamara, uh, Ingram, the running back that Sean Payton had in New Orleans. I also heard a few people talk to him in the sense of like a Ricky Williams type Sean Payton had in New Orleans. The next pick, what was it? Wide receiver Pat Bryant.
Hmm.
Basically, I once again I heard comparisons about him being like a big, younger,
Thomas.
taller, athletic version of Michael Thomas.
Hmm.
And because Cortland Sutton, I think he's going to be 30 this year. So Sean Payton's like, yeah, I need to get another young set. I mean, you got Vele last year, and like, what was it, the sixth round? And
Hmm.
but he was already like 26. So this kid's young. Um, they're let's see, that was a third round pick. Another third round pick I think they got was Jones in round three, another defensive end. And we'll get into this in a little bit. I think that was solid. I think they have a plan for the future with that, which I'll get into here in a bit. Um, Liked it, it was a really good pick. Then they picked up in the fourth round an outside backer. Now you still have Tillman, you got Cooper, you got Nick Benito, of course, and you got Jonah Ellis, who you drafted last year. So we'll have to see where that goes. We'll talk about that in a minute. In the sixth round, the Broncos went after a punter. They lost Riley Dixon this offseason to I think he go to the Titans, I believe.
Hmm.
I think so. They signed another punter in free agency, Hack, I think his name is. They signed him, another punter. So they brought in competition for him. And then the seventh round, their final pick, they picked up Loner, a seventh round tight end. I forgot where he's out of, but once again, we'll get into that in a little bit. Overall, I give the draft like it's not like we had to get a quarterback. And yes, we got hopefully our running back in the future. I'm gonna say about a B. This draft was just having to see how Sean's going to use these guys and what the bigger picture is, wise. So that's what I got to wait on. But you kind of like, what was your thoughts? Like you kind of already touched on it, but are you happy about the Baron pick at pick 20? And what do you think the reason was why they picked him at 20?
So Eddie, I initially I wasn't happy because I thought we were gonna get a running back. I know we talked about this. Now I thought Sean Payton might do something sneaky and get a defensive player, but I thought they might address the line like a D line. You know, that's what I was thinking because of all these contracts coming up, right? Because they can't pay everybody. But corner, I just did not see happening, Eddie. But then when I thought about it, Eddie, I was like, well, what we wanted to do here is to help Bo Nix, right? With like a offensive player, like a tight end, a wide receiver, and such. I'm like, but what about they're thinking on the other side? Well, we're helping him on the other side. We're helping him by not letting the other teams score more on us, right? Because they're
Yeah.
definitely not going to be able to score a lot now. So I'm like, they're really looking at it on a different way. So it does make sense, and I don't think they thought he'll be there, Eddie. Like he was on their board, but I don't think they thought he'll drop to 20. So they're like, we'll pick him, and I guess we'll figure out what to do with him last. That's what I'm thinking because we got Riley Moss, we got McMillan, and this kid he's described as a Swiss Army knife, Eddie. Like he could play inside, he could play nickel, he could play outside, he can play even some safety. Very smart player. So I'm pretty sure they'll find a way to use him in our defense. So
Um, Everybody, make sure you like, comment, subscribe on this video, please. Also, hit that bell notification so you know when we go live. And if you guys got any comments, please get them in, and we'll go over them tonight. My initial reaction, like we kind of talked about before we went live. But not trying to, I kind of disagree with the whole. They're not going to score a lot of points on offense. We didn't have that great of weapons last year, and this offense averaged like 25 points a game. Like that's the Sean Payton effect. Even with a rookie quarterback with the largest dead cap hit, no weapons, Sean Payton at least he squeezed 25 points a game or per game out of this offense. And you know, if remember a couple years ago, Muhammad, when yeah, I think it was 2022 when Hackett was here and we had Russell Wilson. We had a great defense. We had like a top two defense. And people were
yep,
saying if they could just score like 18 points a game, they would be like 11-0 right now. Like midway through the season, they were saying this.
yep.
Like this defense now, I feel like is going to be better. And Sean Payton's going to at least get 25 points per game out of this offense. Like that I mean, we're going to be able to win games, and this defense is going to be able to hold the likes of Lamar Jackson, Patrick Mahomes, Joe Burrow, Josh Allen to, I'd say, probably right around 20 points, if not less. Probably about 17, 18 points a game. And
Yeah.
if this offense can score 20 points a game, then we're probably going to do really well this year. But with that said, the Barron pick, to me, like initially whenever I watched it, because I remember watching on the TV when I told you I had the app to where I could see the pick like 5 minutes before it got announced on TV. When I seen it pop up, I was just like, huh? Like
Yeah.
Omari and Hampton. I know Genty's gone, but Omari and Hampton's out there. I was like, I guess that's not the type of prototype running back that Sean Payton wants then. And the only reason why, like I said, we talked about it, the only reason why I think Sean Payton and them took Barron at pick 20, yeah, you were right about saying he was a top 10 prospect in the NFL or in the draft. But you had Riley Moss, you had Jaquan McMillan, you had Patrick Surtain, the best corner in the league, arguably probably the best nickel corner in the league, and McMillan. Um, to me, it screams that they don't trust Riley Moss's health. Not that his play or nothing. I think his play speaks for itself. I think his health, because he was banged up pretty a lot last year. There was a lot of games we could have used him last year. I mean, yeah, there was sometimes he got burnt. There was sometimes Sertan got burnt. I mean, it happens to the best corners. They're going to get beat here and there. It happens. I think it's I think it's Riley Moss's health. He was banged up a lot last year. There was a lot of games last year where we could have really used him, and he was out because of injury. I think that's what it is. They picked up Barron, to secure that second cornerback spot behind Sertan. And I'm not saying it's over from us, but maybe they think, okay, maybe somewhere in the season if Barron progresses like we think he can and plays like we think he can, they might trade Riley Moss. There might be
Okay.
some team out there desperate hungry for a corner and be like, hey, well, give us like a third or a second, you can have Riley Moss. You know,
But
but
Eddie,
what's up?
if you're right about the health, there might be something that we don't know about Riley Moss about his health. Maybe there's something serious going on. that we don't know
Maybe,
about. They're not letting out. Maybe that's what it is, you know.
possibly,
Because I
and we'll
honestly
probably
thought they will play him nickel more. That's what I was thinking.
yeah. Well, McMillan, like he's like I looked at some stats. He's one of the top nickel corners. I think he's like one or two in the NFL nickel corner. Like McMillan's good. Like I can't see that. It has to be Riley Moss because I know it's not Sertan. They
No, hell no.
didn't draft Barron to replace Sertan. They
Nope.
just paid him. He's the best corner in the league, so there's no way it's
Yeah.
that. That's the reason. But with that said, to me, this makes the Denver Broncos defense like last year they were top 3. This is going to make them the best defense in the league this year. And honestly, I would. And last year, I'm sure you remember, Muhammad. Last year, the Broncos defense, I think, got 63 sacks on the season. They uh, had more sacks last year, the Broncos defense with Vance Joseph, than that 2015 defense did with
Yeah.
Wade Phillips and Von Miller and
Yeah.
what was his name, Demarcus Ware.
DeMarcus Ware.
Like
Yeah.
they had more sacks last year, the Broncos defense, than the 2015 defense. You bringing in Barron, if he's as good as we think he is, a top 10 prospect, this is going to be the no-fly zone 2.0.
That's getting me really
It's
excited,
going to
Eddie.
be the best defense. This defense is going to
Yes.
rival that defense of 2015, and dare I say, it might be better. And that's really hard for me to say because that defense carried this team to Super Bowl 50 and won it. They carried Peyton Manning. Like, I love Peyton Manning, great quarterback, but they carried the corpse of Peyton Manning. Because as we remember, 2015, Peyton Manning did not play well. Yes, he was hurt
No.
for a lot of the games, but when he was playing, he was not playing well. Like, he couldn't throw the ball anymore. That defense carried that team to the Super Bowl and won it for him. And this defense with Barron now, it could literally very easily eclipse the 2015 Broncos defense. I know it's crazy to say, but it's
I
possible.
could see that.
So I'm excited about it personally. But moving on to the next pick, at pick 60, and this is the beauty. Like, I love what Peyton are doing together. Like, I think they're really good for each other. Like, they bounce ideas off each other. They kind of, even each other out, I guess you could say, as head coach and GM. The Broncos traded, I think they traded up once in this draft, but they traded back twice. The second round pick they had, they traded twice. They went back twice in the second round, all the way to pick 60. I think they were at like pick 40 something.
Yeah.
They drafted at pick 60, or they traded back to pick 60, and they picked up running back. I'm sorry, RJ Harvey. I almost said AJ. I don't know why. But what was your thoughts to the Harvey draft pick?
Honestly, Eddie, and that was bad in my part. I was like, who? Who's that? Like, I mean, honestly, it wasn't one of the running backs we talked about, Eddie, right? And that tells you how sneaky they are. Nobody knew. I don't even think they brought him for like an interview or anything, you know? But I mean, as I started learning about him, I'm like, oh my God, look at this guy. I mean, the production, he's not too big, he's kind of compact, but he's like 5'8", 205 pounds.
Yeah, 5'8",
The
203 pounds.
exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah, yards after the catch, he's very shifty, Eddie. He doesn't stop. He tackles really good. This pick, Eddie, kind of made me think that Sean Payton they still believe in Estime. I didn't think they did. That's why we were picking those other, running backs, the power backs, Eddie. But they still believe in him. They believe in him, so they're thinking they're gonna do it by committee. So it's gonna be both of them doing that. I don't know who the third running back is gonna be. We could talk about that in some other time, but they believe in Estime. Really, really good, very sneaky pick, Eddie. I would add, Eddie, that Sean Payton. I've heard that they were trying to trade up because he wanted Ashton Genty apparently, but I think the price tag was pretty high. So that's probably why they didn't do it. But I believe this guy, RJ Harvey, was the second running back for the Broncos, if we say Genty was number one.
I think just like last year with the quarterbacks that that were on the board, like I think there was either one or two quarterbacks ahead of Bo Nix on Sean Payton's big board. I think it was Caleb Williams, of course, was number one. I think he was number one on everybody's draft board that needed a quarterback. And I think the second one was Jaden Daniels. No,
There's
was it
Drake May.
Jaden Daniels or Drake May? It was one of those two that was the second one on his board. And the third on his board was Bo Nix. Um, the RJ Harvey pick, to me, it's not like Estime to me, like I've been watching a lot of people on Bronco sites. Like Estime is not the typical Sean Payton type of running back. He took him because he wanted more of a he does like having a bowling ball at running back. Because regardless of who you are, like every team is going to use two running backs in the game. You're going to have one that's like a scat receiving type back out of the backfield, but you also kind of want to have that bowling ball that can pick up decent yards in them short yard situations.
Mm-hmm.
To fight for the tough yards if need be. And that's what Estime is. I don't think I'm not saying they don't trust Estime, but all the stuff I've heard about RJ Harvey is he's another Alvin Kamara. He's Sean Payton's next Alvin Kamara. He can catch out of the backfield. He can run the ball really good. I think he had like I think he had like a 4.42 at the combine.
Mm-hmm.
Like, so he's
Pretty fast.
fast. Like you say, he's like 5'8", 203 pounds. And I was watching some other analysts talk about it. Like, I can't. Do you know where Genty went to college at?
Boise State.
Was it Boise State?
Mm-hmm.
Boise State is a bigger school and a bigger football program than I think was it UNC or UFC or what?
UCF.
UCF. Thank you. It's a bigger school. From what I was listening to, like pretty much Genty and RJ Harvey are the same type of back. Like same size, same frame, same speed. And honestly, Harvey had better numbers last year in 2024 than Genty did. Now, this is not me sitting here like honestly, I don't care what people say because it's all about name recognition. And when you go to a big school and you have flashy numbers, yeah, you're going to get recognized. People are going to be like, "Oh, you're a top prospect or this or that, your intangibles, this, that, and the other." Everything I've heard about RJ Harvey is he's basically Ashton Genty. The only reason why he doesn't have like any name, as much publicity as Genty does is because he didn't go to a top tier school. Like they were like, if you flip Genty and Harvey, you flip one to, if you flip Harvey where Genty went, Genty where Harvey went, we'd be talking about Harvey the way we're talking about Genty. His numbers were better. They're the same type of running back. And it's going to be a perfect fit in Sean Payton's offense. He's the guy who can run fast. He can run, hit the holes. He's got great vision. He can catch out of the backfield relatively well. Basically, they're saying he's another Alvin Kamara. Sean Payton's next Alvin Kamara. Just like they said last year that Bo Nix was the next Drew Brees for Sean Payton. Harvey's his next, what do you call it? Alvin Kamara for Sean Payton. So, I mean, this is the things I'm hearing. So, I'm not going to sit here and say that. Like, for all we know, Genty could be a bust. For all we know, Harvey could be a bust. All we know, Genty could be a Hall of Famer. Harvey could be a Hall of Famer. We don't know. Just like last year, we had our opinions on Bo Nix. Like, oh, Bo Nix is going to, do well. And some were saying Bo Nix is going to do terrible. This is a reach for the Broncos. Until they play actual football, we're not going to 100% know.
Sure.
Do I believe Harvey will be good? Yes. I think it is the kind of back that Sean Payton got or needed. Like, to me, like, if anything, I trust Sean Payton's opinion and analysis on players in general more than any NFL analyst. Because last year we were told, oh, Sean Payton reached for Bo Nix. Sean Payton, he took a second round quarterback at pick 12 in the first round. What is he thinking? He was thinking, hey, this is my next Drew Brees, and this kid can ball, and I'm going to show you. And sure enough, he did in 2024. Sean Payton knows what he's doing. And if he thinks Harvey could be his next Alvin Kamara, his next type of back, to lean on to, help us win a Super Bowl, who am I to judge? Who am I to say Sean Payton's wrong? Like, who is anybody to say that? They all say he was wrong about taking Bo Nix, and he was proven right all last year. Bo Nix is a franchise QB, and Sean Payton took him when other people said that was a reach. You should not have taken him. So that's just my opinion. So I can't argue with it. I think RJ Harvey, he could be another Ashton Genty. He could be another Alvin Kamara. We just have to wait until the season. But if he winds up going out there this year and he winds up balling out and turning into the next big thing, people are going to be like, oh, there's going to be people out there that are going to be like, well, I had to take back what I said about Sean Payton. He knows what he's doing. Yeah, no duh. He found a quarterback, which is the hardest thing to do in the NFL. And y'all said Bo Nix was a bust or he shouldn't have been a first round pick. So that's just my opinion on it. Next up, at pick 74, I think this is one of the ones where the Broncos, I think, traded up or maybe back again. I can't remember. They took wide receiver Pat Bryant with the 74th pick. Now, what was your initial thoughts on this, and what do you think about this pick, Mohammed?
Definitely not one of the wide receivers that are well known, Eddie, like the top wide receivers. But basically, when I look at his skills, he's basically a Cortland Sutton replacement in the future. Sort of, the same type of player. He's really good with the 50-50 balls, very good ball skills. He can play inside, he can play outside. I think he needs to get a little better with the route running and stuff, but he can learn all that. As far as value, it's pretty good to get up the, where we got him, round 3. So yeah, I'm happy about it, Eddie. I'm happy about it.
To me, well, not to me, I shouldn't say that, but another thing I heard again, another comparison. This is Sean Payton's next Michael Thomas. Now, we can talk about, Sean Payton likes the big physical receivers, the big guys that can go up and, like you said, get the 50-50 balls. That's Sean Payton's, that's his type of receiver for his quarterback to throw to. Now, you could say, oh, well, he only likes the big receivers because, Drew Brees was small, 6 foot for a quarterback, and having big receivers out there, they're easier to see. But I kind of agree with you with the Cortland Sutton thing. Like, I think Cortland Sutton, he's going to be a Bronco this year. After this year, he's going to be 30. I think they might move on from him, personally, depending on how Brian does. And like we talked about before that we went live, like you got Devon Bailey, a guy you drafted last year in like the 6th or 7th round. I can't remember exactly which round. Granted, he's 26, but he's that big prototype receiver that Sean Payton likes, like a Cortland Sutton. And Bailey actually played relatively well last year. For the limited snaps he got, he played well. The guy was catching everything. So, and Bailey you still got for at least another 3 years. He's still going to be on his rookie deal for the next 3 years. Then you draft, Pat Bryant. If he winds up turning into that next Cortland Sutton, Michael Thomas S type of receiver, the big 50-50 guy, there's your number one. And I love it. I really do. Like, Sean Payton is doing everything he can. And that's the thing. You kind of said, Mohammed, which I want to touch on this for a minute. You were like, oh, well, we don't know who none of these guys were, like Harvey, Bryant. We didn't know who these guys were. You hear about Barron, you hear about Mbuka, you hear about Genty, you hear about Omarion Hampton, you hear about these big name players. And then Sean Payton's taking a guy from, a guy named Harvey at running back. He's taking this guy named Bryant, a receiver that no one even had mocked to the Broncos. Like, no one even knew who these guys were. I don't think I've seen a single mock where these guys were taken, like, even the 2nd or 3rd round. But Sean Payton, to me, is playing 4D chess. He sees these guys as his prototypical, like I said. He saw Bo Nix as Drew Brees. He sees Harvey as Kamara. He sees, Bryant as the next Michael Thomas. And just here's the thing. Like, Mark Schlereth said it best. He said this a couple years ago. The Broncos don't, when people say the Broncos don't have talent, no. They don't have name recognition talent. These players haven't had a chance to go out there and make a name for themselves. But in a few years, you're going to be hearing like Harvey or Bryant or even Bo Nix as a household name that are like big name receivers because they make big plays. Now, that's to be determined with Harvey and Bryant, of course, because, they're going to be rookies this year. We haven't seen them play yet. But pretty much they're going to, like, Sean Payton sees something in these guys. Like, no, these guys are going to be what I know they can be. The next Michael Thomas, next Kamara. They're going to go out there, and this year, just like last year, Bo Nix made himself a household name. He put his name up there in that, he's got the elite talent level name now. Bo Nix. Like, we think of Bo Nix, we think of that amazing 2024 season. The big passes, getting out and running with the speed, making good decisions, being accurate. We think about that when we hear about Bo Nix now. It's going to be the same thing for Harvey and Bryant, I believe, next year. Give them a chance to, prove themselves, and then those are going to be household names here in Broncos country, and probably through the national media too. I mean, even Nick Benito, before last year, who's Nick Benito? People, like, I heard people say, oh, people had to go through on the depth chart and be like, who's this Benito guy? Why did we pass on him after last year? Because Nick Benito, 2 pick sixes. The guy was a sack monster. I think he had like 15 or 16 sacks this year, or 14 maybe. I can't remember off the top of my head. But that's how, like, when you make big plays and you make big impacts in games, that's how you get the name recognition. And I'm sure Harvey and Brian are both going to do the same. So I'm excited. Sean Payton's getting younger. Like, this is the second youngest roster in the NFL. Sean Payton's building a freaking juggernaut here in Denver. And these no names here in a few years are going to be big names up here. Going to be like, why didn't we take Pat Bryant? Why didn't we take RJ Harvey? Why didn't we take Bo Nix? That's what's going to happen in a few years. Just wait and see. So, but the next pick, I believe, was another third rounder, pick 101. The Broncos actually traded up for this one too. Was Jones, the defensive end. I'll tell you what my thoughts are on this pick, but Muhammad, what were your thoughts on this pick? Why do you think they took this guy?
Well, Eddie, basically, him, even the player after him, Q Robinson, I think they're kind of looking at our D line and thinking there's a few players we have to pay. We can't pay all of them, right? So we have to start preparing for that. I honestly think John Franklin-Meyer might be gone. I think they're going to keep Zach, because they have to pay Nick Benito too. So this move just signals to me that they're trying to prepare for the future. Jones is pretty good. I mean, he plays defensive end. He's been, I'm not saying he's Von Miller or anything, but he's been compared to Von Miller as far as the quickness, the shiftiness, the way he bends, on the edge and stuff. He's 6'5", 280 pounds, pretty good at tackling. You can play him inside, you can play him outside. I'm pretty sure Vance Joseph's going to have a lot of fun with that. But yeah, I mean, pretty good value again, Eddie, with where they picked him, So yeah, I'm happy with that.
Whenever I think of this defensive end pick with Jones, I think of two things. One, another beast up front to help stop the run. Like, I watched his college tape. He's really, really, really good at stopping the run. And like I said, now with Genty in our division and Omarion Hampton, with two teams that we know are going to run the ball, it's good to have another defensive end out there that can help stop the run. And two, I agree with you. This is a signing for the future. Like you said, DJ Jones only signed a 1-year deal this past offseason. John Franklin Myers, we heard this offseason, he's wanting a new contract after this year. Zach Allen, he wasn't as, outward about it, but he was like, yeah, we know he's coming up next year for a new deal. My thing is, what I think is going to happen is they're going to sign Zach Allen because he's the best defensive lineman we got, on the D line. So Zach Allen's going to get a payday from the Broncos next offseason. DJ Jones, he's a little older. He's a good tackle, but I think they move on from him. And then John Franklin Myers, of course, we only traded a 6th-round pick for him last offseason. You get 2 years for a 6th-round pick. Cool. This pick, to me, the Jones pick, is to, replace John Franklin Myers after the season. And honestly, I'm not saying John Franklin Myers is going to play bad in 2025 because he played great in 2024. But as the season wears on, I think they're going to start. You're going to see Jones out there a little bit more each week. You're going to see him out there just a little bit more. And maybe by the trade deadline, if Franklin Myers is doing good, they might be able to flip him for like a 4th-round pick and actually get some value back from him.
Exactly.
Especially if there's a team out there that desperately needs a defensive end. And if Jones is playing well, and he's playing about the same level or maybe better than John Franklin Myers, you're like, okay, put him in. He's our new starting defensive end, and you can trade Franklin Myers and get some draft capital out of him. I mean, this is the kind of stuff, like, Sean Payton thinks about. Like, yeah, he wants to win. Don't get me wrong. I'm not sitting here saying, oh, he's trading these guys away because he has no chance of winning. He doesn't think he's going to win this year. Sean Payton's like, no. If I know I got to pay all these guys, and you can't pay everyone, like, because if you could, then every team would have every best player in the world. It's basically like we want to make sure we keep Zach Allen around for another couple of years after this year. DJ Jones is getting a lot older, and we're probably going to move on from him. John Franklin Myers, he's going to probably want a fat contract that we can't afford, so we're going to move on from him. And if this Jones kid turns out well, then we could flip John Franklin Myers for a pick. That way we get some extra ammo to keep building this roster every year. So that's what I think could possibly happen, as the season goes on, especially more towards the, midway point by the trade deadline. We're probably going to see Jones more and more. I mean, of course, if he stinks, he's not doing good, then the Broncos are going to have to go into next offseason and be like, okay, either we're going to have to pay John Franklin Myers or we're going to have to draft somebody else that could be actually good, But if Jones winds up turning out to be that starting defensive caliber, defensive end, then you could trade John Franklin Myers by the trade deadline, and then boom, you got your new starting right in. He's on a rookie deal. So that's the kind of things real GMs and real head coaches think about. They're not thinking about, yeah, he's going to be a backup. That's it. They, if they can, get a young guy in there when they know they got, one of their veterans coming up on a big contract and they probably know they can't afford it, they're going to draft the young guy, hopefully get him enough playing time and see how he develops. And if he develops well enough, they could trade that superstar they have for picks, and they already got another superstar waiting in the wings to be developed on a rookie deal. So that's what it's basically just the same as a quarterback, like a team, signs an aging quarterback like a Russell Wilson or Joe Flacco, and they go out and draft a young guy, let him sit for a year, and then, and maybe let him play if, the starter gets hurt, and that way you can go from there. So, but that's what I think is happening with that Jones pick in the third round. I'm sorry. Next up, the fourth round. You kind of touched on a little bit, but I want to get your full analysis on this, Muhammad. Robinson, the outside linebacker from the University of Alabama. What were your initial thoughts, and what do you think of this pick?
Pretty good, Eddie. I mean, he hasn't played a lot, I don't think, because he played in Alabama. There's a lot of competition, but he's very athletic, long. He's got a high motor, very fast, very speedy. I think they're going to be using him more in special teams, Eddie, from what I've heard, because of his traits and his speed and all that. But another good value pickup for the Broncos because of like what we were saying, Eddie. They're trying to see if they can get some replacements. For just thinking about the future, thinking about all these contracts coming up. Really good player for us. I mean, his ceiling is pretty high, so I think that's what they're looking at. Eddie. So we'll see what happens, but good pickup on the fourth round. That's for sure.
I agree. I think this is strictly just a special teams gunner type of player. Because you really don't need an outside linebacker. You just paid Jonathan Cooper last year during the season. You paid him a big contract. Everybody and their mom knows that Nick Bonillo is going to get paid. He was arguably our best pass rusher.
Yep.
Nick Bonillo is a stud. He's going to get paid. Just like Zach Allen, Nick Bonillo is going to get paid.
They're both going to get paid. Yep.
And so there you go. You got your two starters at outside linebacker. Now, there's usually a lot of rotation at the outside linebacker position during the game. You let the starters come off to get a little bit of a break, and then you put, the backups in there, or, the second string guys. But it's like, you got Jonah Ellis, who you drafted last year, who's actually, he played pretty well for the snaps he did get. He could be a star. Like, he could be a rotational piece, kind of like Shaq Barrett. Like, in the 2015 season, you had Von Miller, DeMarcus Ware were your freaking starters. And then you had like a Shaq Barrett who was that rotational, clean up kind of guy.
Yep.
Like, I think that could be Jonah Ellis. Like, or that's just what I think about it. Like, he had a couple of good, he played solid whenever he did play. And then you got DeAndre Tillman that you brought back. You signed him last year and you brought him back for another year. Now, he played relatively well during the season too. Like, there was a couple of plays that if you go back and watch highlights from the Broncos, he's made some highlight plays on the Broncos defense last year. And I also watched him in the USF or the UFL last year because that's where he was before the Broncos signed him. The boy's a beast. He can get after the quarterback. So this pick to me, the Robinson pick, it's more of a gunner type special teams player. Like they lost, Smith, the corner, to I think where did he go? Dallas, I believe. I mean, I know they signed Sherfield or whatever his name is, Junior.
Yeah.
They signed him also to be a special teams guy, but special teams is one of the core pieces of a team. Like if you got a good kicker, a good punter, a good, special teams that can either, get you good field position or, stop the other team from getting good field position, that's big in wins and losses in the NFL. Like as Broncos fans, we know that too because there was years we had what was his name, Tom McMahon, and the guy sucked at special teams, and teams would always get big yards, after a punt or a kickoff, and our special teams couldn't stop crap. It seemed like we could never return a freaking, we couldn't even get past the 20 half the time with our special teams back then. So special teams is huge, and if you got a gunner that can, get, and I'm pretty sure this kid's fast too. You got a gunner that can get down there and stop the opposing team from getting, more than 10 yards. That's a big game changer. So that's what I think the Robinson picks for. Like, I don't really see them needing an outside linebacker on defense. You got two really good rotational pieces in Tillman and Jonah Ellis, and you got your starters. We know they're your starters. You paid one last year. You're going to pay another one next year. Those are your starters, Benito and Cooper. So, but this pick to me is more just a, like I said, just a special teams gunner type of player. Moving on, like I'm gonna hit this pick last. The first sixth round or our sixth round pick that we had, I'm gonna hit that one last because I got a lot to say about that. But in the seventh round, the Broncos took Loner, tight end from the University of Utah. Now, Mohammed, your initial thoughts and reaction to this?
Well, Eddie, same thing. Just like when we picked RJ Harvey, I'm like, who the heck is this kid? Caleb Loner. I couldn't even pronounce his last name. But I mean, I learned that he's 6'7", 250 pounds. He's a basketball player who just
He's
turned,
huge.
yeah, tight end. And is you giving someone like somebody like that to Sean Payton to mold, to teach? Oh my God, Eddie. I mean, who 6'7", 250? Imagine being in the red zone. Who's gonna be like? You just throw it as high as you can, and so he's gonna
Yeah,
catch it. So that's the idea. I think it's crazy, Eddie. I mean, I don't think he's going to be ready right away, but just the idea of him being, I mean, because a lot of these big name tight ends, Eddie, they used to play basketball, right? Antonio Gates, Jimmy Graham.
yeah.
So yeah, that's the idea, and it's like I said, Eddie, it's very sneaky. I mean, I love the way they did this draft, Eddie. Like all these players that nobody knew about, nobody was talking about, but the Broncos knew exactly what they were doing. Sean Payton is a genius. He has a blueprint, Eddie. And it's like you said, it doesn't show right away because you don't know these players. They're not big names, right? They're not
Yep.
known. But then as the years go, they were like, oh my God, nobody knew about this player. How you let the Broncos just take him? So I think this is the idea here. I'm really excited about him, Eddie.
Well, I agree, and like I was saying, like he's a big receiver or a big tight end. Like I've heard comps of Jimmy Graham. Like you brought his name up. Like people are like, yeah, this is like another Jimmy Graham for Sean Payton. Like how could you let Sean Payton get his hands on a tight end like this? Once again, now we have to wait until the season starts to see how these guys play. But if Sean Payton's as good as we think he is, which I think he is, because once again, he nailed the quarterback last year when people told him he was wrong. This could be our next Jimmy Graham. And yeah, he might not be fully ready out of the gate because he's a seventh round pick for a reason. My thing is like you're going to see him this year on the field. I'll put money on it. You're not going to see him, when the Broncos are in their territory or at midfield. You're going to see him whenever the Broncos are like inside the 10-yard line. You're going to see a big tight end bunch set or something, or like maybe two receivers out and everything else bunched in. You're going to see that a lot when they're inside the 10-yard line, and Bo Nix, and he's going to be out there, and Bo Nix is going to look for that big, what would you say he was, 6'7"?
6'7", 250.
Yeah. He's gonna be the fucking guy you see out there in the red zone, and you're just gonna see a freaking ball fly up, and you're gonna see these massive
Exactly.
hands just come up and snag it out of the freaking air. That's
Good
gonna be
luck.
him.
Good luck for the corners, Eddie. Like, what are you gonna do? You need a ladder. Come on.
Yeah, because like if he's 6'7", his hands probably reach well almost to 7 foot.
Exactly.
So I don't know if any corner or linebacker or safety it's gonna be able to, unless they could jump, but I'm just saying, like, you're gonna see this kid this year when the Broncos are in the red zone. He will be out there. He won't be tight end one because of course that's gonna be Evan Ingram. But Evan Ingram's more of that type of tight end that you use getting down the field, like in your own territory, midfield. Someone you can find that stretch the middle of the field down the seam and stuff. That's where you're going to see Evan Ingram. But where you're going to see Loner is inside the red zone. Whenever Bo Nix needs a big freaking body, a 6'7" type of guy, 250 pounds that can box almost anybody out, he's going to be looking for him in the red zone. You're going to see massive hands coming up. Like, you're going to be watching the TV and just see these hands come out from underneath the TV and just snag the fucking ball right out of midair.
Eddie, he could
That's
be
what
used
you're
as
going
a
to see
decoy.
this year.
He could be a decoy. People thinking, oh, he's gonna throw it to him, but then it goes to Court Sutton or maybe Jimmy. Evan Ingram.
Well, that's the thing too.
Poison.
That's because people are going to be so like. I don't think that's the case though. I think what it's going to Evan Ingram and Cortland Sutton are going to kind of be the decoys, which is crazy to say because teams are going to be trying to cover Sutton, a big body receiver. They're going to be trying to cover Evan Ingram over the middle. And like you'll have Evan Ingram doing like a drag or maybe, like a post route, or you'll have like Sutton doing a slant or out route, in route, whatever. And you're going to have this guy doing like a post route to the back pylon. Just no one's going to be covering him. He's going to be like, oh, who is this guy? He's a 7th round pick. We got to cover Sutton, make sure he doesn't beat us. We got to cover Ingram, make sure he don't beat us. Or Bryant, the guy that they drafted. Yep. Or Devon Bailey. We can't let these guys beat us. We know who these guys are. They're good. We can't let them beat us. And then the 7th round tight end is just going to be out there like one hand in the air, snag.
Touchdown.
And freaking defender's going to be trying to freaking stop him. He's going to be like this. Boy, get down. So that's what you're going to see in the red zone. I feel like this kid's going to get some playing time, but a lot of the playing time you're going to see is when the Broncos are in the red zone. They're looking for that big, big body to throw to. So just wait for it. So, but the last pick, I kind of skipped over. This is our 6th round pick, but I wanted to talk about this one last. We drafted a punter from the University of Florida, Jeremy Crenshaw. What was your initial thoughts and everything to this pick, Mohammed?
Well, Eddie, initially I was like, who drafts a punter? You don't usually see that, right? I mean, usually
the Raiders drafted a kicker or a punter back in the 2000s in the 1st round. Remember that?
Yeah. So the Raiders, right? So that was my thing, Eddie. But then I thought about it. I mean, he's the best punter on the draft, and I'm sure Rizzi was like, Sean Payton, this is my guy. I want him. I mean, if we wanted him, a lot of teams would want him if he goes undrafted. So there's a big value for him here. And you touched on this, Eddie, special team. People usually don't think about special teams like this, but if this guy can consistently like pin teams into like inside the 10 yards, that's a big win for us, right? And he has the leg to do it. So, and he used to play rugby, I think. And it's like Australian or something.
Yeah.
He used to play rugby, so it's pretty good.
I got a couple things to say. Okay. With this pick, I fucking love this pick. I love it. I honestly love it to death. The reason why, think about last year, Mohammed, when we had Riley Dixon back there punting. With the special teams we had and the special team coaches that we had, now that we got Rizzi, who's honestly one of the best special teams coaches in the NFL for a reason. Like Sean Payton loves him. Do you remember what this Broncos special teams did last year, especially towards the beginning of the season? Riley Dixon they were pinning guys inside the 1, like the 2, the 3 yard line. Like Dixon would punt it perfectly down there, and then our guys would get down there, grab the ball, and it'd be like inside the 5. Like that happened so much last year. Now imagine getting this big leg punter, Crenshaw, who I watched his highlights. This guy can freaking punt the ball like no other. I mean, he can punt it far. And then you got these gunners. You got still most of these young guys that can get down there and get the ball within the 5-yard line. Like if you're on your own 20-yard line, this guy's gonna boom it inside the freaking, like 20 or 20 to 15 to 10-yard line, and your guys are gonna get down there and hold the ball inside the 10, maybe the 5, and you're gonna be like, holy crap, look at the field position we just got here. And also the other big thing for me, I know she didn't mention this, Mom, but I don't know if you know or not, but he played quarterback in high school or his first couple of years in college or something, I think.
Oh, I didn't know that.
And you know how Sean Payton likes to fake punt. Like, imagine, we got this guy, amazing leg as a punter, but also can throw the ball that the Broncos want to fake. Big brain move here by Sean Payton. And you're probably right. Rizzy was probably like, dude, Sean, this guy's got a hell of a leg. He's played quarterback in the past, so he can throw the ball if we need him to. If we want to do a fake or something on special teams. Dude, I'm all for it. This could be a big, big thing for the Broncos. Like we talked about all these other picks, which they can make huge impacts on this team, 100%. But punter, like to me, punter on special teams, whether having a good kicker that can make long distance field goals is a plus. But if you got a punter that can flip field like that and throw the ball if you want to fake, that to me is just there's no amount of money in the world that can, replace that. A guy that can, if you're at your own 20 and you have to punt, he can punt it inside their 20, their 15, their 10-yard line. Flip field position, but also at the same time can throw the ball if you want to fake on special teams. Like, think about Sean Payton. Do you remember Sean Payton's very, very first play as Broncos head coach?
Yep.
What was it?
Yep,
it was an onside kick to start the game against the Raiders.
Yep.
Now, it didn't work. But the Super Bowl comes out at halftime. What does he do? Onside kicks it. Saints win that Super Bowl. Sean Payton loves to do fakes on special teams. And now that you got a kicker that can punt the ball away really well, deep and far, and has a really good leg, and can throw the ball because he's an ex-quarterback,
look out.
Special teams is going to be fun to watch this year. Like, I think this is going to be the first time in years. Don't get me wrong, Bo Nix in the offense is going to be fun. Defense is going to be fun. But I'm really looking forward to watching the special teams this year. I really am. So, but, man, this draft was good. Like, once again, we have to wait and see how all these picks work out. I think there's going to be a punter battle, of course. You got Hack, and then you got Crenshaw that you just drafted. But if I had to guess, Crenshaw is going to win that. He's got the bigger leg. He can throw the ball. Like, they're going to be running all these drills in training camp and stuff. And I think, Crenshaw is just going to own that freaking spot. It's going to be his. So, but now that we got through all the picks, we're already almost at 50 minutes, Muhammad. Wow, I didn't think we'd make it to almost an hour. But again, guys, if you guys can please like, comment, subscribe on this video. Also, hit that bell notification so you know when we go live. And also, get your comments in so we can go over them. Next up I want to talk about was Dre Greenlaw. And there was a report that came out last week that he got hurt. The initial report was, he tore his quadricep and he's going to be out for the majority of the season. But another report came out and said, oh, no, it's not a tear, it's a sprain. He's only going to be out for a couple of weeks. What was your initial thoughts on this, Muhammad?
Eddie, my heart dropped because I was already really excited about our defense, saying this is going to be the number one defense, especially after we added Byrne. And then you're going to tell me, we lost our linebacker. I'm like, come on, this couldn't be happening. And then I learned that it's not as serious as it was portrayed to be. And they're saying it was really the 49ers who came up with this report. I don't know how true that was, but they say they're the one who spread that rumor, saying that he was hurt. But that did really scare me, Eddie, because finally have a linebacker like that, we don't want to lose him. So,
well, and with today's modern medicine, they say he's going to miss a few weeks of the regular season. I don't think that's going to happen, honestly. What is this, May 3rd? You got June, July, August, September. You got 4 more months until the season starts. Like, the fact that it's just a sprain and not a tear, that's good news. Like, if it was a tear, he'd probably come back midway through the season, I would assume. But the fact that it's just a sprain and the Broncos didn't seem to be too worried about it. Like you said, that there was a report that the 49ers leaked this. It wasn't the Broncos. I don't think they're concerned with it because from my understanding, didn't this come out or it came out after the draft? But anyway, I don't think they're worried about it. I think they think he's going to be 100 or he's going to be ready to go by the start of the season. You got 4 more months. It's only a spring. I'm sure it'll heal quick. And with today's modern medicine, he'll probably heal fast and he'll be ready to go by the start of the season. He might miss a week, 2 at the most, and he'll be back by at the latest week 3. He'll be back. But I don't even think he's gonna miss any games. I think he'll be ready to go week 1 personally. So, but the last thing I wanted to touch on, Mohammed, just to kind of go over our division rivals' first round picks. And I just wanted to get your thoughts on this. But as we know, Barron for the Broncos went number 20th. But let's go through all the teams in the AFC West, and I want to give your take. And I want to give my take on what we think. So at pick 6, the Las Vegas Raiders took Ashton Jeanty. What are your thoughts on this?
We sort of knew it, Eddie, but I was hoping that they will maybe get an all lineman or maybe trade back. I really didn't want them to get Jeanty, but they got him. Now we have to deal with him. Do I think our defense is capable? Yeah. I would have to wait and see because they did struggle with the run last season. But I think with the additions we did on defense, we should be good to go.
Yeah. Jeanty scares me a little, but like he's going to be running behind the line that is literally garbage. A Broncos defense that got like 63 sacks last year was really good at stopping the run. And the Raiders that desperately need every position under the freaking sun, like they have no defense. They got Max Crosby. That's it. They got Brock Bowers. That's it. They have no offensive line help. Like, good luck. That's all I can freaking say. I'm not too worried about it. Yeah, Jeanty might, burn us a few times during a game, but he's not going to go ham like Josh Jacobs did on us all those years ago. But it sucks. Did I want Jeanty? Yeah, but I kind of figured he wasn't gonna make it past 10. I really, even if the Raiders would have passed on him, like I think the Bears would have took him. I think the Cowboys might have traded up and took him or something. Like I didn't see him getting past 10, maybe 12 at the latest. I didn't see him getting past. But next up, I want to talk about the Los Angeles Chargers. They went Omarion Hampton. They were 2 picks after the Broncos, and they went Omarion Hampton, another running back that was kind of mocked like the last week or so before the draft to the Broncos. What were your initial thoughts on this, Mohammed?
Honestly, I hated it because I thought we were going to get Omarion Hampton. I didn't want him to go to the Chargers or any other team because I know how he likes to run the ball. That's his bread and butter. That's what they do, But it wasn't a type of running back that the Broncos wanted. So it was a perfect opportunity. It was a very good pickup for them. But like we were saying before we went live, Eddie, we're gonna have to deal with it. We got Jeanty, we got Omarion Hampton, twice a year. For the next how many years? Honestly, Eddie, I think we improved on defense. I just have to the run. I'm not 100% sure, so we'll have to see. If we can stop the run, Eddie, nobody gonna beat us. I don't see that. That's because the secondary, forget about it. No way. Good luck. Good luck.
And that's probably and for the Raiders and Chargers, that's a good thing they went running back. Because if they would have went receiver, you said it yourself. No one's throwing on us next year.
Nope.
Like, good luck. That's all I can tell you. Even with Patrick, we play Patrick Mahomes hard every year. He's considered the best quarterback in the NFL. We shut him down every freaking game. Like, every game they've beaten us over, since Patrick Mahomes has been there, they barely beat us. They always beat us by a field goal. Like, it ain't like they're blowing us out. And the Chargers really don't have any receivers. They got Ladd McConkey, and the Raiders got freaking Brock Bowers. But Dre Greenlaw and Barron, Surtain, McMillan, Riley Moss, now Hufanga, and freaking Brandon Jones. Good luck, Brock Bowers. Brock Bowers who?
Yeah.
Ladd McConkey who? Hell, I'll even go one further. Xavier Worthy, who?
Yeah.
Like, I'm not worried about teams throwing on us. The run, yes, has me a little bit more concerned. But honestly, we swept the Raiders last year, and I'm not worried about that. I don't think Genty is going to change that fact. Or Pete Carroll. Like, I'm sorry, I don't see it. Like, they have so many holes on the roster, and the Broncos have gotten so much better since last year. The Chargers, the only reason why they beat us, in my opinion, is because we were either down Riley Moss or we were down Patrick Surtain, our two top freaking corners last year. We were down. Like, I'm not even worried about it. And we almost came back and won those games too. So I'm not too concerned with the Chargers. But yeah, go ahead, take your little running backs and see if we give a shit. Like, I'm not worried about it. Because you know what's going to happen? Since teams know that they're not going to be able to pass on our defense, guess what the Broncos can do against the Chargers and Raiders? They can stack the box. Good luck trying to, get through like 8 guys. Good luck. That's all I can say. So next up, we got the Kansas City Chiefs, the team I hate the most. They took, which was a need for the Kansas City Chiefs. We kind of bagged on them throughout the entire free agency period, but they took a tackle, Josh Simmons. And I'll get to my thoughts here in a minute. What were your initial thoughts to it, Mohammed?
I mean, honestly, Eddie, like that's what I thought they needed. They needed help because that's why they lost the Super Bowl because of their O line. And what did they do in the offseason? Started trading players, right, from the O line.
They got rid of their best offensive lineman in Tooney.
Yeah, which the O line wasn't good to begin with. So they needed that. Is that going to make a big difference? I don't think so. But
well, my thing is that they're starting. I think they have a. If I remember right, well, I mean, I don't know. Like, Simmons can either be left or right tackle for the Chiefs. He could play either tackle position. They have their center in Creed Humphrey. The only two players they have on the offensive line that, once again, like I said, we have to wait and see how these rookies play before we can sit there and be like, oh, they're good. Is they have Smith at right guard and they got Creed Humphrey at center. Now, Simmons can, if he turns out to be that type of player, which I think he could be, honestly. I hate the Chiefs, but I think he could be that type of player. That only solves one of your tackle positions. You still have a guard and another tackle position that you're going to have to worry about on the offensive line. You don't have a running back. Pacheco is not the same player he was. Travis Kelce, not the same player he was. He should have freaking retired because he literally gave up in the Super Bowl. I'm not worried. Once again, what are they going to do? They can't run because they don't have a running back. They're not going to be able to pass on this defense, so I ain't worried about that. Good luck, Xavier Worthy and Travis Kelce, who's washed, and Rashid Rice or whoever else is on that damn team. And their defense, like I didn't see all their draft picks, but I do know they need defensive line help, and they do, I think, need outside linebacker help, and safety help. So this is a good pick by the Chiefs. I'll give them that because they need to at least fill one tackle position, but that still leaves a guard and a tackle position. Like if they put him at right tackle, that whole left side of the line, left tackle, left guard, teams are going to stack that side of the line of the Chiefs, and they're just going to bum rush Mahomes from that side. So I'm not too concerned with it. I mean, it was a good pick for the Chiefs, but at the same time, I'm not too concerned. Like, I don't think this is going to stop the Chiefs from, or Mahomes getting freaking bum rushed every freaking game. Like, the offense, and like, again, Simmons is still not, he's not proven. He can very well easily just be a bust, just like any other first round pick. How many first round quarterbacks have we seen? First overall pick quarterbacks we've seen, or any player for that matter, get drafted in the first and turns out to be a bust. A lot more than normal.
True.
There's usually a lot more, busts than there is people that actually play well and become good. Like to me in the draft, first round picks doesn't guarantee they're going to be, Hall of Famers. Doesn't mean they're going to be good. They're more likely to be busts. Just like a fourth round pick is not just an automatic bust. It could be a guy that turns into a Hall of Famer. I mean, trying to think, Chris Harris Jr., Hall of Famer, undrafted free agent. I'm trying to think of some other ones. Like Tom Brady, pick 199, 6th-round pick, turned into a legend, Hall of Famer. You know, Dak Prescott turned into a really good quarterback. I wouldn't say Hall of Famer. Russell Wilson was a Hall of Famer until he played himself out of it the last couple of years, and he was a 3rd-round pick.
I didn't think
You
you're
know,
gonna say Russell Wilson. I was about to say Russell Wilson, but I'm surprised.
so I'm just saying, like, talent, good talent, elite talent, Hall of Fame talent can be found anywhere in the draft, or even not even in the draft. They could be an undrafted rookie, like Chris Harris Jr. You know, so I'm not too concerned with it. Like, I'm not saying he's going to be a bust, Simmons, for the Chiefs, but until I see him play, I don't know. Just like any rookie, RJ Harvey, you know, Ashton Genty, Omarion Hampton, Barron. Like, I don't know about these guys. No one does. Even whenever Surtain was drafted and he had all the hype in the world, I'm like, yeah, I'm happy about the pick, but he still got to prove it in the NFL. Same with Bo Nix last year. I'm like, did I think he would do well? Yeah, but he still had to prove it to me. Like, I could have said, yeah, he could do well all day, but he still got to prove it. You know, just like Tom Brady. Tom Brady wasn't like, oh, we didn't think of Tom Brady. It's like, oh, he's gonna be a future Hall of Famer and a 6 or 7-time world champion. No one even knew who Tom Brady was when he was drafted. He had to prove himself. So, but that's my take on it. Mohammed, any final thoughts before we get out of here today?
Yeah, I just wanted to add, like, during the draft, Broncos country was just going nuts on Facebook.
Yep.
Because of, like, everybody had an opinion. I mean, I did too, but what I was thinking, like, let's all calm down, trust the process. I'm sure Sean Payton and George Payton know what they're doing. They're really good at this and analyzing players and stuff. So I'm sure they're better than us. So we should just all we'll just relax and trust the process and know that they're gonna make the right decision as far as the players.
I agree. Like, I trust Sean Payton with the draft 110% because of the Bo Nix stuff and all the other players he's drafted that's turned out to be really, really good or Hall of Famers. And the same for George Payton. The guy knows how to find talent. He's not very good at finding a head coach. He's not very good at making trades, you know, for player on player. But he knows how to maneuver, you know, the draft, you know, picks and stuff to move up and down. He knows how to find talent. Sean Payton knows how to find talent. He knows what he's doing. Like, we're in good hands here in Broncos country. I know a lot of people want George Payton fired after that Nathaniel Hackett disaster, but that's just one thing. Like, I'm not gonna get rid of a guy that can honestly find talent in every round of the draft that can, literally, play day one and possibly become a great player or elite player or a legend, all because he hired one bad head coach and maybe, one bad trade. Let Sean Payton deal with the trades. Like, if they want to trade for a player, let Sean Payton deal with that, because I think he knows what he wants and what he needs on this team to win. And Sean Payton was right about Russell Wilson. People want to bag Sean Payton like 2 years ago, 3 years ago. People were bagging Sean Payton, saying, "How could you do this to Russ? Sean, you're an evil person. You're, wrong for yelling at Russ." He was right about Russ. There's a reason why the Steelers didn't want to keep him. There's a reason why he's on the Giants now. I'm not going to guarantee he's going to be a starter over there. It could be. I think it's going to be Jameis Winston that starts in freaking New York, or Jackson Dart.
Yeah, he just needs to retire.
So Sean Payton has my full, support. He has my full, trust. Until he doesn't, he does, because he's drafted Bo Nix. He's turned this roster around from the disaster it was in 2022 with Hackett, Russell Wilson, the contract. Sean Payton has turned this team around in 2 years and built, honestly, what I think could be a juggernaut, a Super Bowl contender type team in 2 years, with the biggest dead cap hit in NFL history and not a whole lot of talent on the roster his first, his second year with a rookie quarterback and making the playoffs for the first time in, 9-8 years. So, but before we go, Mohammed, we got a couple of, we got this guy here saying hello, and then he messaged again and said, "My dad."
Hey, Dale.
Is that your son, Mohammed?
Yep.
Hey, buddy, what's up? Thanks for watching, man. We really appreciate it.
Thank you.
So, But anyway, but that's it for us tonight, guys. We'll be back next week to talk more. I think rookie mini camp starts this week, Mohammed. So we might have some little bits of tidbits of information and stuff we can talk about next week. But until then, guys, we'll talk to you next week and hope you guys have a fantastic week. Mohammed, talk to you later, bro. Peace.
All right, take care, man.